phone for the notes.
So did I.
Right. Well, it is what it is, bro. This is how we operate. So Luke, thank you for coming on. I know you're a bit apprehensive about it, and I know why, because I wouldn't say you're like a quiet guy, but you don't put all your shit out all over the place. Yeah. I'm going to call you the David Goggins of Teesside, right?
That's a good title,
it is, right? So, and when I say that, it's not the cocky version of David Goggins who goes on about carrying fucking boats and shit like that and shouting shitheads in the camera while he's run down the street. But it's about the effort that you put in. And I think we'll go back to Christmas, right? So I walked into the gym, right? I'm hungover. You're on the bike at the top of the stairs, staring into space. There's a puddle of sweat underneath you. I say to your mate, Sam, how long's he been on there? He's like, been on ages. And then I said to you, where's your headphones at? I left them at home. Oh. And then I did my hour-and-a-half workout. He's still on that machine, right, that bike, with your fucking salopettes on. I'm sure they call them something different in the cycling world, right? And then you're still on it an hour and a half later, staring into space, mate, and I'm just blown away. And when we first met, so we'll go back like 10 years, I think. So you started going out with my mate's daughter, or Will's daughter, Jessica, who you've got a beautiful baby too now. And Will was like, oh, this guy's like, he's the top boy. Will's like an old estate agent, right. She's very posh and particular. And he's like, hey, Speedy, just that and the other. And I'm like, yeah. And it was when I'd started my journey off, and he went, you need to meet him. He's such a lovely lad, Luke.
Is it Winston Churchill?
Yeah. He's like the non-dog. Not far off. He's like the non-dog. So then, so obviously we met kind of in the Black Bull Beer Garden, which is where I pretty much met
everyone. Meets everyone,
and then I kind of, we start this podcast up, and then I had a little look at some of the achievements that have actually been posted, and I know there's a few more. So I think, obviously, Edinburgh Marathon in the rain, was at 3 hours something.
3 hours 5, I think it was.
Which a marathon, I would never ever be able to do a marathon, right? It's a big undertaking. But then you go, right, Switzerland, Ironman. And then you go...
That's horrible, that, by the way.
And then you go...
Ironman. Yeah, it was a bit...
How many peaks?
What, in the lakes?
Yeah.
42.
42 peaks. Yeah. 22 hours continuous run.
66 miles it was, yeah.
With an elevation of similar
500, so nearly Everest from sea level.
Everest from sea level.
Yeah, it's a big day.
And then I'm like, this mental health, this like mental challenge that you put yourself through. And then I spoke to your missus the other day, and she was like, well, you know, you cycled around the world, and I'm like, really? And she went, well, he cycled to Greece. What her words were, he cycled from England to Greece when he was 17, and I was just allowed to get the bus over to the borough. That's what she said. And she's like, he cycled over to Greece, and I'm like, wow. So we knew we have you on here, right? So, and obviously our podcast's about fitness, but the mental health strategy that goes with it, right? So I know how hard and difficult stuff is to do. You're a bit of a G, mate, and that's why I'm calling you the Goggins of Teesside. So I think out of all of those things that I've listed off, is there anything I'm missing? I know you're proud of skiing Mont Blanc as well.
Yeah, that was one of the that was up there, one of the hardest days I've had, to be fair.
So which one was the hardest?
I mean, like physically or
both. So start with physically first.
Physically, it's a toss-up between the Bob Graham, skiing Mont Blanc, and the Ironman. But with the Ironman, I got ill in the build-up, and I was trying to brush it off.
Right.
Because I was obviously, we were in a race with the lads. We were like, you know, it was who can beat each other. Sam and Jimmy, you know.
Yeah.
So I got picked up this sore throat, and I said, our lass was the only person I told, and I was like, you know, I've got a bit of a headache here. And I was like, I'm just going to forget about it. I never said a word to the lads. And then on the day, I was like, it was mild, you know. It wasn't anything crazy. And then on the day, it was like, all right, yeah, sweet. Well, we had to get up at 4 a.m, because we had to be in the swim for like 6 or something like that. And then got through the swim, and it wasn't too bad. Then got on the bike, and I just got like 50 mile into the bike, and I was feeling all right. Just started to like a bit of sickness come on, you know what I mean? I was like, oh no, this is bad. This got another 20 mile in, and I was in a bit of a bad way, and then literally like 75 mile into the ride, I was just spewing all over the side.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, all the energy I'd been banging into me to keep going just come straight out, and I felt like pure death for the rest of the day, basically.
Did you have to pull over to be sick, or was it?
I had to pull over. I was absolutely writ off, honestly, and I just stuck like the bike. I was like, best case scenario here, I'm going to be able to walk the marathon.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's no way I can run a marathon. I just physically can't run it. I'm like that. I'm
Best
that red. And I just rolled into the transition zone where you change from your bike to your running, and I was like, I'm just gonna hang my bike up and just call it a day, because like I'm absolutely, I have no energy. I've spewed everything up. I can't keep anything down. I thought, oh look, just put your running shoes on and we'll have a walk. You know what I mean?
Just do the first 5
Yeah,
minutes.
exactly. And as I was walking out the gate, Sammy Peeps, one of the boys, was finishing his first lap of the run. Right, so I like flagged him down and like ran up to him. And I was like, mate, I'm wrecked. I'm just being spewed and all this. And he's like, give us a slap. I was like, pull yourself together. And I'm like proper struggling. But there's all these like feed stations every like couple of kilometers on the run. So you get there and I banged it. They have like these slices of orange. So I knocked a couple of them in, and like I had a bit of electrolytes, and I just started running, and my legs felt all right. Because it was honestly weird as. Legs felt all right, so I was like, all right, I just kept running. I was on Sam's heels, so I just stuck with him for a bit. Started to feel a bit better. I don't know, I'd spewed it all up, and all the energy had gone, and I just like started to get a bit back into me. And then I ran with him for 2 laps. He finished ahead of me, and then I was like, right, I've got another 8 miles to go. And the run was probably physically the hardest thing I've ever had to do.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was just
depleted of everything.
No energy, no nothing, and I was just running and running and running. Like every feed station, I was just knacking electrolytes, giving everything they had, mate. But yeah, I think physically, probably if I'm being realistic, that's the hardest.
Yeah.
The average person would just go, being sick
Check it out, mate.
I know, to be honest, I half wish I did. At the end, I got through the line, I just laid on the floor. Sam's last took a photo, I just laid on the floor. I was buzzing, you know what I mean? I was buzzing. Even though I was completely wrecked, I was just laid on the floor like happy as Larry.
But you were back in the gym about 48 hours later, weren't you?
Yeah,
He was in the gym. I'm like, bro, you've just done Ironman. And he was like, yeah. He went, I'm just doing light upper today.
What a horrible individual you are.
But then with Mont Blanc, as soon as you go over 4,000 metres, the altitude kicks in.
Right.
So like, I'm not like, don't get us wrong, I like a bit of mountaineering and stuff, climbing mountains, I'm not like a high altitude mountaineer or anything, you know what I mean? So you get up there and you're dragging your skis on your feet, which is obviously, it's a bit of weight. You've got your ski boot on, you've got all your bag, you have to have all your avalanche gear and all that. You get over 4,000 metres, you are gasping for air, you know.
So what does that feel like? Bring your mic a bit closer to you, mate, just in case. So what does that feel like? So is it like out of breathness or?
The best way to describe it is like it's a full body hangover, and you're trying to do a massive workout. It's say you're doing a massive cardio day, right? You're trying to run a marathon or whatever. But you lower down.
Top 5Ks, yeah. 10K.
Anything you're trying to do. Say you're pushing yourself, and you get to like that point where you just your full body's hurting a bit because you're going so hard. You get up to a certain level of altitude, and it's complete different ball game. It's like the intensity level is just cranked up.
Oh,
you can't like.
I did Helvellyn on the weekend, like.
Just like that, yeah. Just like
from
that.
Glen Ridden, mate. It's not a bad climb, that. Yeah, it's some elevation there.
Oh, man.
I don't think there's any altitude sickness there, like.
No.
But yeah, and even that was one where, like, you're trying to take in the view because, you're in the Alps.
Yeah.
You're on, literally, you're looking down. The Aiguille de Midi lift, the famous lift in Chamonix. Is like 3,800 metres. You're up there looking down on it. It's such a surreal moment, but it's hard to enjoy because you're absolutely hanging out your ass. Yeah,
that's unreal. That.
So that was up there, and then obviously there's the Bob Graham as well, which is.
Let's talk about the Bob Graham, right? So I didn't even know it existed, right? So the history is some guy did it. And then there's been a few permutations of the route, hasn't there?
Yeah.
And you've got to get these specific top heights in them.
Basically, you can pick which route you want, but you have to hit the peaks of all 42 of all of these hills.
Yeah.
And it was like initially it was like, I don't know, it's maybe about 70 odd years ago. It was like a group of farmers or something who were all like up in the fells, you know what I mean? Just out chasing the sheep around all day.
Let's go and do this for a bit.
Yeah, so they were like, who can nail the most amount of peaks in 24 hours? So like some guy, Bob Graham, went out, and it is a bit of a niche thing, but it's like in the ultra running, like fell running world, it's like it's a big event, you know what I mean?
This is the kiddie.
Yeah, he nailed as many peaks as he could, and it was like the 42 of the highest, essentially mountains in the lakes.
And that set the stall.
It's a big loop from Keswick round to Keswick, basically.
Yeah. Imagine being that guy though, right? This is what, like, he's woke up one day. Like, people do it now because it's known for what it is. Imagine being that guy who just goes, I'm going to go do as many peaks as I can in 24 hours. Like, insane that he's remembered now because people go out and do his... I just would never wake up in the morning and go, right, I'm going to go do
Sometimes I think I need to go to the toilet and, like, I go feed the kids some breakfast and stuff like that, but I ain't doing none of that shit.
No, it's a savage challenge, to be fair. Like.
So when you decide to do these feats of fun, right, what fucking goes through your mind, mate?
Where does it come from?
To be honest, when you're in it, it's a mental battle. It's just a pure mental battle.
But I got into my running a bit, and I was knocking out 10 miles a day kind of thing. I used to be scared and apprehensive to go on that run, right? And because I couldn't get my breathing right. I could never ever get my breathing right, and I used to put Eminem on 8 Mile. And come out of tall trees, and by the time I'd got 3-4 miles in, my breathing had sorted. I was worried about that breathing all the time, and that's for a fucking 10-mile run, right? When you're planning to do something absolutely raged like that, what are the feelings that go on inside you?
There is a little bit of apprehension when you're planning it, but it's like I enjoy the training, you know what I mean? So I'm going out into the hills, and I'm like, I'm looking forward to it. I'm like, right, we've got a big day planned here. And we're going to do this and we're going to do that. We're going to get so much elevation in. We're going to do so many miles, and that's all the prep. But and then on the day, obviously, you've never run something as big when you come to it. You know what I mean? You're always pushing the boundaries. So it's like on the day you're like, right, well, I've run 30 miles in training with 12,000 feet of elevation, but I've got to run 66 miles here with 27,000 feet of elevation. So you're a bit like, I don't know how this is going to go, you know what I mean?
It's going to get a bit spicy,
Yeah. And then, like, you're 12 hours in because you set off at, like, 7 p.m. and you go straight through the night to get the night out the way. Ideally is the best way to do it. And it's 3, 4 in the morning, it's still absolutely pitch black, and you're just like, I've got another 18 hours to go here. This is aggressive, you know what I mean? And that's when it really sinks in, and you're like, you've got to go somewhere that you've never been before, though. Do you know what I mean? You're always pushing that lit.
I'm a bit annoyed, right, that these cameras are like, when you're speaking, this camera's going to be on you, because I wish everyone could see my reactions. I'm like, Jesus Christ!
Oh my God,
it's an aggressive challenge, to be fair. But
so where does it stem from? Where did you just
think you dropped as a kid or something like
just
that?
Bad shit.
I mean, in that sense, a bit of another couple of good stories is it all stemmed from our dad, essentially, because he's rowed the Atlantic and he's into his challenges. Like, he's rowed the Atlantic 3 times. He holds the world record for rowing from Canada to England.
Right.
And one of the times, like, they got hit by a massive hurricane, smashed off the rudder of the boat. They had to get picked up by an oil tanker and, like, brought into Aberdeen and all this. So
runs in the family then,
yeah. So when people say, "What are you all about?" I'm like, we just blame our old man.
So when I did the video the other day, the kind of I'm excited about who we've got coming on Sunday kind of thing. There's a lad phoned me up and he guessed straight away. So obviously I didn't want to put your name out there because I wanted to do the whole teaser thing and all that, the Goggins and Teesside. Danny Dinsdale phoned me up. He went,
Danny
fucking Luke
Dinsdale
Rock.
goes,
I went, how on earth do you know him? We went, we grew up on the same fucking street together. I was like, of course you did.
Yeah.
I said to him the other day, I went, if I don't know if I don't know someone in Teesside, Danny will know him.
Yeah, right.
And vice versa. But we've got this small group of crossover people. So he was like, yeah, his dad was a rad.
Yeah, I was going to say, he knows our dad well.
He used to take us up to the lakes, get us drunk, and fucking go on mental mountaineering exercises. I was like, right, fine. Yeah. So your dad, what titles he got?
Yeah, basically, it was like he was in the first ever like organised race to row across the Atlantic in 1997. That was from Tenerife to Barbados. Yeah. And then like he got a flavour for it then, and he was like a couple of years later with our uncle who lives in Teesside as well. He was like, oh, let's row from Canada back to England, like the North Atlantic.
The cold bit, yeah.
Yeah, right through where the Titanic sunk basically in Newfoundland, yeah. So like they had to wait for the icebergs to sort of pass before they could get through, you know what I mean? And then so they went for that and they did the fastest crossing, but like I say, the first attempt, they got halfway through and like a hurricane from whatever the Caribbean come through and like the backlash of it. Massive, like literally 60-foot waves is the way he describes it, and just one rogue wave. Sometimes you get rogue waves where they crash, but they're in the middle of the sea. Right. Come over, rip the rudder off the boat. So our dad, being the nutter that he is, was in the water trying to fix the rudder with a rope attached round his. Just tied round him, so he didn't float away.
You're talking about 3, 4, 5 degree temperature.
Yeah, proper cold. But you know, you're not surviving long if you get left out
and
there.
then you've got no shower to get back on the boat.
Yeah, exactly. You're in a cabin that's half the size of this table. You know what I mean? Two men as well, so there's 2 in each side. But then they went back 3 years later. Our mum said to him, look, if you go again, I'm going to divorce you. So in true fashion, he went again. and they broke the world record for the fastest crossing. And I think they were the first from Canada to England, the first four-man team. So.
Do they have one of them record things like?
Yeah, he's got 2 plaques up on his toilet in our house.
In the toilet.
To be fair, for his 60th birthday just last year, he treated himself to a big bike ride. This was his present from him to him. So he flew to Patagonia, in the south of South America, and cycled the whole length of South America all the way to Northern Colombia. It took him 6 months. And that was his
60th birthday present.
That was his 60th birthday present.
What the fuck's your mum saying about this, mate?
She flew out halfway and had a bit of crack with him for 2 weeks, and then they just carried on riding, him and one of his mates.
What a guy.
Mate, what a G. So that's where you get your mentality from?
Basically, yeah.
Wow, what a family, mate. What a family. Yeah. That's unreal.
There was I don't even know where to go with this one now. That's absolutely mental.
I told you.
I know.
I told you.
You did. You read it me. There was I can't remember if it was the peaks when you were doing it, but you were prepping for something, and you had been travelling the lakes, doing loads of mad walks with loads of mad elevation, and you got injured after a lot of training and things like that. Which one was that one for again?
That was training for the Bob Graham.
That was it.
So that's why it was so sweet, because I was training for probably about 3 years, but 2 of the years I kept picking up injuries, and it was like you're half thinking, do I just let this one go? You know what I mean? Because you can't run, you can't do this. You've pulled your Achilles or you've knacked your knee because you're running down these fells all the time. But then eventually, he was in the gym. He was doing all the leg weights in the gym that saved us. You know what I mean? That got the joints in the position that they needed to be in to be able to run and to be able to take the impact on the downhills. And then that's why it was, in the end, it was such a sweet thing to do, because I'd been training for 3 years. What really should have only took me 1 year of training. You know what I mean?
So go on, mate. I was just going to say, where was your head at after you'd put all that effort into training? You go in the lakes, because it's not like you just go in the barrage, do a quick 5K. Like, you go in the lakes, you go and doing all these mad walks, and then you just keep picking up these injuries. Where was your head at then?
Battered. It was battered. So I picked up one of the biggest training days we did. We went over the lakes. We did 30 odd miles. It was over Scarfell, over I think it was about 28 peaks, something like that. It was a big big preparation day. and I picked up an injury, like coming down Scarfell, like I tripped and I nearly just absolutely stacked it, and I had to like correct myself. But I knocked my hip, and I was like, oh,
Hip's gone straight away.
Hip's gone, yeah.
As soon as you said that, I was like, his hip's gone here, mate.
Exactly, trying to like correct it too quick, and I was like, oh, nightmare. So I couldn't run after that, so I was like, all right, you know what, I'll get on the bike, I'll start training on the bike, like just to keep the fitness
Keep the
going.
cardio up, kind of thing.
And there's a thing called the Dales Divide. It's like it's a 400-mile like off-road loop that starts.
Right.
It goes along the Cleveland Way, and it goes like coast to coast, and it goes through the Dales and
Right.
over, and it's just one massive loop. But we can join it up at like near Osmotherley,
Right,
basically.
okay.
So I was like, oh, I'll do that. Like you're camping, you know what I mean? So I just got my tent on my back. Well, I didn't have a tent. I had a sleeping bag. Just threw my sleeping bag on the back, grabbed one of the lads, and was like, right, we'll go and do this. You know, it's like 400-mile loop.
What do these lads say? Because you're alluding to like, and I know you've got a good bunch of pals, right?
Yeah.
What do these say? Do you just phone each? Do you just have like a sick bastards WhatsApp group? Who fancies doing something mental today?
Pretty much, yeah.
Is that what it is? That what it is?
Horrible
We've
individual.
got a
today.
WhatsApp, there's about 6 or 7 of us in it, and it's just like any daft idea you have, you throw it in there, and you're guaranteed to get some takers, you know what I mean?
I don't ever want to be in that WhatsApp group.
It's not a group you want to participate in.
It is pretty aggressive, to be fair. Like so I thought, oh, I'll do this Dales Divide ride, and it was like we're doing about 70, 80 mile a day, just laying on the floor with our sleeping bag on a night. It was I think it was February, so it was pretty cold. It was icy, and then got 5 days into it. And I hadn't been doing much cycling, but I'd been doing a hell of a load of running.
So
I was like, oh, I'll be fine on the bike. I'm not going to get injured on the bike. Started riding after this like 5th day, and I pulled my Achilles. And I was like, oh no. I was like, I'll give it the big one, thinking I can do this massive bike ride, because I fucked myself in the Bob Graham training. And I've pulled my Achilles on the ride. So then I got back home, and I still had like another 100 mile to ride or whatever it was. And I was like, you know what? I got home and I was like, I should have just called that a day.
Yeah.
Because I wrecked my Achilles, and now I can't run and I can't ride.
And now back.
So that was when I was just going to the gym. I was like, I love training in the gym, but cardio is where, for me, is like where the real buzz is. You know what I mean? Where
Really?
Don't get us wrong. You see me in there lifting weights all the time.
Yeah.
I love it. You know what I mean? I do get a buzz out of it, but the real sort of the thing that makes me the happiest is doing all these.
And is it
challenges.
challenge yourself? Is it? Have you got a competition in your head with yourself?
Yeah, definitely.
Is there a voice that says you can't do it, or is there a voice that says let's see how far we can go?
Yeah, the latter, I would say.
Yeah?
Yeah. But it's just, it's definitely a challenge. Like last week I did like a 4-day fast. I never ate from like Tuesday to Saturday, basically, and like that was one of the heaviest challenges I've done as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was a lot harder than I anticipated it to be.
I've done 24 hours before, but that's the 3 days as well.
100 hours basically.
Where your cells start rejuvenating themselves and stuff like that.
Yeah, autophagy and all that. So
Just water and black coffee, or was it just
no
water?
black coffee, just water. Right. Yeah, and some like salt in the water.
Electrolytes.
Yeah. But that it was saying. So I was saying to the missus, I was like, this is actually reminded me mentally of doing the Bob Graham, because you're going through these cycles and it comes in waves.
Yeah.
And it's like 1 minute you're like, you know, I'm going all right. I'm sweet. I'm 25 miles in, and then you're like, no, there's no way I can do another 40 miles. There's no way I can do another 40 miles with 5,000 meters. You know what I mean? Then half an hour later, you have some caffeine and you're knacking energy gel, and you're like, I'm going all right. Then 20 minutes later, you're absolutely writ off, and you're like, I can't go on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I'm nodding my head as if I know what you're talking about. I kind of think I know what you're talking about, but I think it's a little bit more exceptional what you go through. That's fucking unreal, man. That is absolutely
just
unreal.
chasing these challenges, basically. I feel like what it is, but I think the important thing is that it's just good to do that. You know what I mean? I think everyone should do that.
Yeah.
Like everyone should be trying to challenge themselves at any chance they can. You know what I mean?
100%.
If you can't train because you're injured, well,
can you do?
Do a fast.
What can you
or
do?
get in the gym, do what you can. You know what I mean? Your knees fucked. Well, go and lift some weights. It'll do some upper body. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I 100% agree with you. I 100% agree with you, and it hurts me so much when people say that they can't.
Yeah.
And I think the human body's such a wonderful thing. And, you know, I know I've banged on about, I mentioned Goggins a few times. It's him that's got at 80%, you've still got 20% left. And I'm a firm believer of that.
Yeah.
And I think some people get to 40% and they think they're done.
Yeah.
And I don't think they know the capacity or the capability that they've got to keep going.
Yeah.
And you obviously, you don't have that rule, do you? You just keep going, bro.
I couldn't agree with that more, because I actually think about that sometimes, because it's like when I first heard about someone running 100 miles, I thought, that's not possible. How can you run 100 miles? You know what I mean? Like, you just can't. Like, 'cause obviously everyone's nailing these marathons. And
Yeah.
You know, like, it's a good achievement. I appreciate it. But there's people out there running 100 miles without a break. You know what I mean? How insane is that? And like, obviously the Bob Graham's 66 miles, but if you were to flatten that out,
I think it'd be a hell of a lot
well
easier.
over 100 miles, you know what I mean? And I just remember thinking like, that's not possible. But then when you start reading about it and you get into it and then you do it yourself, and then you're like, there's so much more that's possible for everyone.
Yeah.
Like everybody, if they really wanted to, is capable of running 100 miles. That's how I see it. Like, all right, it's going to be very difficult,
and it depends what your starting point is, right? So it's like when I was 26 stone, I never thought that I would be able to run a mile, right? And you build yourself up slowly. It's like, and you'll know about this, right? You both will. It's about the reps and the practice, and keep on going, and then turning back up the next day and going that little bit further and a little bit further. The problem with you is your further's like all the way over there, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's a little bit further than everybody else's further.
It's mental, honestly. So when me and Paul were speaking about all the things you've achieved and this, that, and the other, and I genuinely did say to Paul, it was on the weekly whinge. I said, I genuinely can't wait to speak to you, because the things you've achieved, mate, I'll take loads, like soak it up. We spoke before about taking the best things of people and this, that, and the other. And just speaking there about when you say people have an injury and they'll call it a day, they'll be like, oh, do you know what? I'll have 2 weeks off. Well, I've done something to my neck and like my back and my shoulder, and this week has just been shit. It's been shit with my training and all sorts. But like there, I'm like, yeah, you're right. I can just go in and absolutely nail my legs. Yeah. But I have used it as a bit of an excuse this week. I felt sorry for myself. So I think that's probably important for a lot of people that hear that is, just because you've had a knockback, just get up, get going, stop feeling sorry for yourself.
Do you know what? I'm 100% right. I think the only thing, right, that you can't really train around, and I know this sounds pathetic, it's a broken toe, because when you've got a proper smashed big toe, you can't even lift a dumbbell because the force goes through your body. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh shit, not my toe. It's like the most pathetic. Just chop it off. I don't really need it.
Rather break it out.
Away, bro. Yeah, I can go do some squats or something.
The thing is, it's easy to let an injury get in the way of something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like even like I've not been running lately because I've had shin splints, like injury ever. But it's easy to just think, oh, I'm not going to do fuck all. You know what I mean? Because I've got that injury and I'm frustrated because I can't run, and I really want to run but I can't. So I'm just going to do now, you know what I mean?
Do you think there's a point where, and I haven't found this point, but I'm pretty sure there's doctors that probably be sat thinking differently. There's got to be a point where you need to phone up and say, can you come and pick me up because I can't go, you need to come and get me. Do you think there's a point? Have you ever experienced that point?
Yeah, what do you mean just like
your
on
body,
a challenge, on a one-day challenge
or
just
whatever in life, right? There's got to be a point where you go, I need to stop doing this because it's going to be more detrimental to my health.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what I should have done on the mountain bike ride. That's exactly. I spent months saying that to myself. I was like, "You idiot! Like you pulled your Achilles. It was obvious. It was getting worse with every pedal stroke, but you just cracked on." And I was like, "That was a stupid."
So did you finish
thing.
that?
Finished it, but it wasn't like no.
So you
It was just me and my mate.
Achilles.
Yeah, we cycled home. Yeah. But like, it wasn't like a major challenge, you know.
I know,
it was
but
just a bit of
somebody
crack.
could have come and fucking drove over and picked you up, bro.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's what I should have done. Honestly, that is what I should have done.
I always find it though, so I put my back out a while ago and I was like, literally, I know yourself hitting it. I was doing the pyramid, so worked my way up, and then I was on my way back down. I think I was on like the 12th rep and I was like, screw this, I can go for 15 here. And then my 13th rep, my back went. And then for weeks and weeks and weeks, I was like, why did I do that extra rep? Why did I do that extra rep? But just something in your head, I'll keep going. And it's always that extra pedal, that extra rep that gets you in the end. And
Yeah, it's tricky.
I wanted someone to come and pick me up from the gym.
Mate, I actually phoned Sarah once, and this is pathetic, right? You guys will think it's pathetic, right? But I ran from here-ish home one night, and it was the second time I'd done it. Bear in mind, I was like 20, probably the size I am now, but fat, much fatter. And I thought, right, I'm gonna run home. So I had my laptop in my backpack, and I ran home, and I didn't have any. It was only 6 miles. I didn't have fucking specialist gear. I had training shoes and stuff like that. But my hamstring went, and I phoned Sarah, and she drove past and picked me up, and I felt lame.
She wanted to give you any chew when she couldn't pick you up.
No, she was fine. She was driving past anyway. If I'd have called her out and she couldn't pick me up, she would have gone ballistic. But she was driving past anyway. And I thought, you should have just walked. You should have just walked it off. And then I thought, if you'd have kept on walking for another 30, 20 metres, it might have eased up, and then you could have ran the rest of the way. And I just felt guilty for but I think, and I know that's a bit pathetic, 6 miles compared
No,
to
don't
what
be
we're
daft.
talking about.
Do you know what though, right? Someone's 1 mile is the equivalent of your 100
Somebody hasn't even run
miles.
a 5K yet,
Yeah,
right? I get it. I get it.
I encourage everyone to just get out and get after it. You know what I mean?
That Couch to 5K, the thing that came out during COVID,
yeah,
it was.
yeah.
Just a 5K,
That was mint. That.
I think it's a really slow process though, and I think people need, back to what we were talking about before around the social media bit, and they need to get there quicker. That's spread over a long time. That couch to 5. I think it's a great thing to get you off the couch and doing 5K, but I think it could be you can get there a hell of a lot quicker than that.
Yeah.
Than that. But
You should build confidence in it. You biked around the world.
Yes.
You biked.
how old were you when this happened?
21, I think we were when we set off.
So I was in the Navy at 21, but I can remember I was in Portsmouth on the drink all the time.
Yeah. I was just proud if I put on a clean pair of pants, mate, to be honest with you, at 21. Like, I don't know what the hell was going on in my life at 21.
To be fair, we were at uni. And me and my mate, do you know Jimmy, the small guy?
Yes, yeah. The angry
small,
little fella.
Yeah.
He's nice when you talk to him, but he
Small,
just
yeah,
walks
walk
around.
past him, he's that small.
Yeah.
And anyway, me and him, we went to school together. So we were in like our French class when we were like 15 or younger, and we had this grand idea of cycling around the world. So we were like plotting it in our. We sat together in French and we were like drawing it in the back of our getting inspired by the French guy teaching the lesson, and we're like, we'll do this, and we like drew a little plan in the back of our planner, like we're gonna cycle this route and all this, giving it the big one, and we're like, yeah, sweet, we'll do that, and then we started doing a couple of daft trips, and that's when we did like the Greece. When we were 17, we cycled to Greece, like across Europe, me, Jimmy, and my brother, and after that that was a bit aggressive, to be fair, but that was a bit of a baptism of fire, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then after that, we're like, right, we'll go to uni, get that out of the way, and we'll do a proper job. We'll go around the world. Basically, that was the grand plan. We'll do what we planned in our French class.
Book.
So
back of the textbook in French, in your jotter.
Yeah.
Smell it. I can smell it now. You smell it.
So then after uni, we were like, right, we're off. Basically, we'd saved up some cash, and we'd got all the bikes, and we'd done loads of prep, and there was me and Sam as well, the long-haired guy, and Mac.
I didn't know Sam's Chris's son.
Yeah, so you know Chris. Everyone knows Chris. Yeah. So Sam is Chris's son, and then Macca as well, who's in the gym all the time, black hair.
Yes. Has he got a Defender or something like that?
He used to have that red Defender.
Yeah. I saw him yesterday, I think. Yeah.
So basically, us four and another guy who hasn't made it out of Australia yet after we cycled there.
He's still there.
He's still there now.
What was that, lads? I like it.
And here he is now. We've streamed him on Zoom.
Bring him in. Yeah. Talking with an Aussie accent, man. Fucking hell, yeah. So we set off. We left. We set off from basically from our dad's house, but we like the Fox Covert. We set off from the Fox Covert, and we're like, right, sweet, heading south. Like went to London, and then got the ferry from Dover to Calais.
Yeah.
And then we were like, right, basically we've got a massive like section of land to cross here now.
So talk me about the route then.
Well, so we landed in Calais, and basically we were heading east.
Right.
So I mean, I can nail the countries. It's been a while, but we went into Paris because we were following the Tour de France.
Okay.
So we went to Paris, and it was the year that Bradley Wiggins won his first.
Yeah.
But the years previous, we'd spent a lot of time following the Tour de France, and we used to just jump over the barriers and have a crack with the riders and that. You know what I mean? So we got like friendly with Bradley Wiggins and one of his mates. So like then he was in the yellow jersey, and we went to Paris, and it was like the final day of the Tour de France, and we jumped the barrier, and he was like, "Oh, how are you doing, boys?" and all that.
Never guess what we're doing.
yeah. So we tweeted him, that night, and we were like, "Oh, we're cycling." He called us his Newcastle fan club. We were Geordies. We were like, obviously we're getting mistaken for Geordies everywhere we go, don't we? So we tweeted him, and he was like, "Well, give us a retweet," and blah blah. And he retweeted us, and we had like thousands of followers the next day. And we were like, What's going on overnight? And we looked, and he retweeted us. Obviously, he just won the Tour de France, so he was blowing up as well. You know what I mean? So that was good crack. And then after we left Paris, we went east through Germany, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic, into Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria somewhere. Yeah, Bulgaria, Turkey, across the sea, northern Turkey, into Georgia, and then Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, through the desert into Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, then through the mountains. It's like the Tian Shan Mountains, north of the Himalayas, basically, into the Taklamakan Desert in northwestern China, through the desert for like 2,000 miles, which was
brutal,
absolutely savage. It was like minus 20 degrees. Because it was in January, and then south started getting warmer into Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore. Got the ferry from Singapore to Sumatra in Indonesia, across Sumatra to Java, then to Bali, and then from Bali we flew to Australia. And then we worked in Australia for like 10 months because we had no cash.
Shit.
But then 3 of the lads ended up staying there.
Right.
2 of them come back to England.
Yeah.
And then 1 of them stayed. And then me and Mac, we flew to San Francisco, cycled from San Francisco to New York City, then flew from New York to Barcelona, and then we cycled from Barcelona back up to Rotterdam, and we got the ferry back to Hull.
Must have some stamps.
And then we cycled back to the Fuchs cover.
Did you have a Palmo when you got back?
Oh, mate. Absolutely smashed one every day.
So how long did it take? 27 months?
Yeah, nearly 2.5 years.
So a day was that you're out on the bike, and then what was happening on a night?
Yeah, typical day. So we were carrying all our tents with us, basically.
Yeah.
It was a hyper aggressive setup looking back. Like we probably do things a bit different now, but we were just like we were green as grass when we set off. You know what I mean? We just going for it. Yeah. So we had 2 tents between 5 of us. So what we'd do is we'd rotate, so there'd be 3 in one tent and 2 in the other. But we'd just go around in a circle. So you'd spend 3 nights in the 3-man tent, and 2 nights in the 2-man tent. Yeah. But obviously,
was there more luxury in the 3-man tent?
They were the same size.
Right.
So you were a bit snugglier in the 3-man tent, but then in the 2-man tent you had a bit more space. But in the summer when it was in Romania, it was like 40 degrees. We were like mosquitoes were out every night. You were jumping in the tent, but you were wishing that you were in the 2-man tent because it was a bit cooler.
Right.
But then you got to the winter,
and you were all like,
and you were like spooning each other. You know what I mean?
5 in a 2-man tent.
Yeah, exactly. I will share one tent tonight, lads. But honestly, if you left the water bottle out, it just freeze overnight.
Wow.
Freeze solid. You have to have your water inside your sleeping bag. Basically.
What was the hardest, the heat or the cold?
You know what? I prefer the cold. So
right.
I would say the heat's worse, but it's when the mosquitoes come out. It
right.
really is, because you're trying to chill out around the night when it's cooling down. You're outside your tent chilling, but when dusk comes, that's when the mozzies come out.
So you've got to get straight in.
Absolutely take you out. So you're jumping in the tent a lot earlier than you otherwise would.
Yeah.
And you're just sweating your back off the whole night. You don't recover from it, you know what I mean?
Horrific smells in that tent the next morning.
Mate. One day, going through the desert and that, we never had a shower for like 10 days.
Oh.
Yeah. And then we got in this hotel. It cost us like £2 a night. And then he's like, hey, you go, there's the showers. Put us in like a shower room. It's just like a massive, it was a massive tank of water with like a fire underneath it, and just like a load of buckets to pour over your head, and that was the shower room for the hotel.
Mate,
And it
but
was
you'd take it all
the
day,
best
wouldn't
shower I've ever had in my life, mate.
you? So how did you prep for food and stuff like that?
We were just literally stopping off at supermarkets and cafes and that. When we were going through Europe, obviously there's
Much easier,
loads
yeah.
of, you just buying it. We had stoves with us and that.
Yeah.
So you just buying like a kilo of rice every night.
Yeah.
And a couple of tins of sauce and whatever else we
Mince,
wanted with it, and
whatever,
we were just
yeah.
cooking up a storm. We just like we had like 2 people would be on cooking and washing duties every night.
Yeah.
But then it would switch around.
Yeah.
Everything had to be ultra fair, you know what I mean, with there being 5 years.
Yeah,
So, like,
yeah.
we became professionals at like buying a full cake, but because obviously if you're cutting a cake in like a couple of halves, you've got 4 slices, but to get 5 slices out of it, it's a bit more. It's a bit more tricky, you know what I mean? So,
You and your friends sound so much more like pleasant than man. Man would be like, I'm having 2 slices. We'd be fighting over the cake.
to be fair, we overdone it on everything. Like it'd come to a morning, we'd just buy like 5 boxes of cereal.
Yeah.
So like for your breakfast, you'd have a box of cereal.
Box of cereal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd have like 2 litres of milk and a box of cereal.
But you
And
wouldn't
then
Need
that
it.
in
You would
and away
need
you
it
go.
though.
Yeah,
You would
yeah.
need it, right? What did you? So you must have created a massive brotherhood with those lads.
Oh, massively. Well, that's why it's all the lads. You know, Favours still train at David Lloyd's.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're best mates. We go out training every other day, every weekend. We spend all of our time together still.
Yeah.
A lot of we met a lot of people on the way, or like some similar people who were like, I'm amazed how 5 years have done that and still maintained
So there
like
must
a
be-
level of friendship that you've got. You know what I mean?
I was just going to. I'm just thinking about that. The dynamic between you boys must be something special because you by law of averages, you wouldn't get people to be able to live like that for 27 months.
100%.
You wouldn't. You must have found a really, really special bunch of lads.
Yeah, well, it's all fun and games saying, like, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. But, like, at the end of the day, like, it's a hard challenge. And when you're cycling, you're waking up out of your tent at minus 20 degrees.
Yeah.
And you're having to get your clothes on and, like, get your bike and, like, nothing's working because it's so cold.
Yeah.
Like, no one's in a great mood.
No,
you know
no,
what I mean?
no.
Like, it's hard. Everyone's like, this is a chore, this. So, like, you've got to
Be there for each other.
yeah. Well, you've got to you've got to pick each other up as well.
I think you've all got the same end goal, haven't you? You're all wanting to achieve the same thing at the end. I think a lot of downfall when it comes to relationships and friendships and stuff is when you go your own separate way kind of thing. You want to be in a different place by the end of it. But I think that's probably something that might have, I don't know how you feel about it, but you all knew, woke up in the morning, right, we've got another 80 miles to do. There was no one going, oh, well, I'm only going to do 40, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. And I just think, like, it is difficult because it's a massive challenge, but at the same time, like, we just tried to, I think naturally, like, we laughed off scenarios that other people would have maybe went, this is a major issue, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we just like, obviously, you get annoyed at times and that's what happens, but
Yeah.
the dynamic is when one person's annoyed, the others step up and go, it's all right, lad, you know what I mean? Don't worry about it, and they help them out. And that's how it worked for us, and it worked so well. And like, we met 2 guys in Australia who had done a similar trip before us.
Yeah.
And they were like, I don't know how you have arrived here, all such
All
good friends. You
all
know what I
still
mean? Yeah, because
intact kind
the
of thing.
dynamic. And we met, there was another group, a group of French lads, and I think like they ended up just falling out because like they got halfway around the world and like people were
You're
flying off.
actually a fucking massive bellend.
Never see it again.
I don't know. I'm not coming to wedding next year.
You're like, shit's a hedgehog.
But we ended up just like laughing off scenarios, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And some stuff was like, I look back and it was like, yeah, that was mad, that. But we just have a bit of crack and like to be fair, we were stopping off at the cities and like we were getting in the backpackers hostels and we were getting on the pits,
sesh.
you know what I mean? We were getting smashed, so we weren't like, we weren't
It wasn't
proper
just 100%,
strict challenge.
yeah.
It was like ride through the desert for 3 weeks, but then turn up to a city in China and it's fucking Chinese New Year.
Yeah, so you're just getting on
and
the-
it's
on
a
the
major
sack or whatever.
celebration.
Yeah.
So all right, we ended up like some people like we were cycling across America. We were stuck outside this outside a supermarket. We had like nowhere to sleep, and it was like a bit late on, and we were like, we're in this nice town called Steamboat Springs in Colorado, and we're like, we'll just ride out, like, find a nice camping spot outside the town. But like, we wanted to check the town out, you know what I mean? And then this guy comes out and he's like, hey man, what you all about? And all this, the Yanks are mad, mate. And he's like, and we couldn't be asked, like, we couldn't really be asked talking to him because we were all knackered. And we just like wanted to go and like get our heads down. He's like, me and my missus, like, we cycled across America, and we're like, then our ears perked up. Sweet, like,
sleep with your arms,
no, then he went, you're coming to stay at my house? And we're like, some boy, right? Yeah, that'll do.
All of a sudden, now you like Americans.
Dragged us to his house. His missus didn't have a clue. Walked in with 4 stinking cyclists. These boys are staying at our house. We were like, we're only meant to be there one night. We ended up getting on the smash. We stayed at his house for 8 days. Did you? 8 days, mate. Yeah.
You still keep in touch with him?
Yeah, he's come to my wedding in 4 months.
That's class.
Yeah, we went back to his wedding in Colorado, mate.
Mate, that's class.
Phenomenal, but it was like, it's just those things happen to you all over. And it's like, we used to laugh, and it's like, it always goes back to the phrase, like, fortune favours the brave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All these weird things would happen to you. And like, sometimes these are proper unfortunate things would happen.
Yeah.
And then like, there'd be a stroke of good luck at the back end of it and weird stuff like that, you know what I mean?
Fortune favours the brave. What was the reintegration into normal life like after that? Because you've been out on bikes with your pals.
Yeah, I know. Well, a lot of people asked us that question, and a lot of people said, like, you know what, you're going to struggle to just get back into it and get a normal job and all that. And I think it is tricky, but I think it's also sort of, every one of us now, we all work for ourselves.
Right.
And 4 of us are running our own business, basically. So I don't think that's by coincidence, you know what I mean? I think that's just, you get a level of mentality and you see the world in a certain way, and you're just like, it's a bit like it's out there for the taking. You know what I mean? Whatever you sort of want to do, you can go and achieve. So it's like we're all just cracking on, building businesses and just like doing our own thing. So I think if we were to be working for someone, we'd probably struggle a little bit. You know what I mean? Because we've been free. You're free for that long. And you come back. I did, obviously, I got a few jobs when I come back. I was working as a surveyor in Nottingham and stuff like that, and then like got an opportunity to work with our dad and build his business. And I just think it's when you're like that for so long and you're traveling and you've got your own freedom and stuff like that, you can't throw it away. You just sort of, it's a blessing and a curse in a way, but you're sort of stuck with that, and that's your life now. It's like, you can't reintegrate into something else where you've got
into
to like
proper, like
a 9 to 5.
9 to 5.
Yeah, 9 to 5, so to speak.
environment.
Exactly. Yeah, you would struggle with that, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because
But equally, I mean, like, I know we talked about earlier about me figuring a way of moving out of the corporate life into doing something else, right? Sometimes I lack confidence in my abilities, if I'm honest with you. So I think the way I picture it is, I've got 3 girls to look after, a pretty hefty mortgage. What happens if something goes wrong when I go out there? But I think you've proved to yourself over 27 months that, you know, you're confident enough to be able to just take on those challenges and just deal with them, maybe. And I think I know I'd smash it out the park, but equally it's my confidence.
It's that fortune favours the brave.
Yeah.
It comes back to that, doesn't it? We spoke after the first weekly whinge, and I told you about my plans for the whole thing.
Yeah.
And like I was an electrician before I joined the fire service, and I had a little bit of a wobble last year. I was cutting for a photo shoot. I wasn't enjoying my job at the time, and I was like, right, I need to get out of here and this, that, and neither. And obviously now I'm eating a little bit more. Mentally I'm a bit more stable.
Feel a bit all right.
But that period of time when I was thinking something needs to change, I was coming up to my 30th. It was my 30th, obviously 2 weeks ago. And I was like, my life's not mediocre, but I'm not excited every day when I wake up. I haven't got that challenge. I want that challenge again. Yeah. So I'm a bit like, I've just had my house valued and I'm ready to jump balls deep into something that could either make me or break me. Yeah. And it'll probably break me, but I just think if I don't start taking challenges, I'm just going to end up living, and I want to be at a point where I can just go, right, fuck this, I'm going to go do 27 months cycling
round
the thing and have a bit of stability with it and enjoy it. by the way, I do enjoy my job. If my gaffer's listening, but
Pay 45 in the post on Monday.
yeah.
Nice one.
But just that fortune favours the brave, and there's another thing. Speaking to you now, and you've told me how you're not institutionalised into the way that the world works. You've gone out, you've started a business, you're building a business, and that's inspiring to me. And there'll be other people who are listening who'll think, do you know what? Yeah, he's right. Like, take a step forward.
Yeah, I think it's just having a goal. I think exactly what you're saying. It's like I've always been. If I haven't got something in the pipeline that I'm pushing towards, then I'm just like, I don't know. I'm a bit losing it a little bit. Yeah. I'm just like, I need something to like stimulate me a bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and do you know what? Now we're talking about this, right? So I'm sat here thinking, I've used that treading water, monotonous life, right, as a bit of an excuse for the last few years, and I've maybe pitched it to myself as that I'm comfortable and I'm in a good space in life. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely am. But am I convincing myself that I'm at that spot because I'm too scared to go do something else? And do I need a challenge? Do I need to challenge myself to go do something? That's what I'm thinking at the minute, man.
So this is
Is
why
that after you've got in shape, basically.
No, just after this
speaking to you.
This conversation, it's making me think that. It's making me think because I'm a big fan of I'm happy with my lot, right, and I'm comfortable, and I'm also not excited, and maybe I need something to go and
just wake up every day and go, right, this is what we need.
Yeah. I don't know. I need to think that through.
This is probably the best and worst conversation I've ever
had. Food prep. What do you do with that? What does normal? Do you eat?
Do you have a specific diet?
I try and keep it. I try and keep it strict, but I'm not always the best.
Well, we all have a Parmo, right?
Yeah,
we all have a Parmo, apart from him.
I'm heavy for my Parmos, like Parmo a week.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For any grown man.
Yeah.
Any grown man.
I'm not a grown man. So I won't look like one on camera sat next to you either.
So what do you are you regimented or because you work and you build houses and stuff, don't you? So that's got to be difficult. You're not going to be walking around with your Tupperware and stuff.
I try and I've started getting these like Thrives. It's like a natural like healthy meal thing that Mac put us onto, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to stay off the sugar if I can.
Right.
But also find that very, very difficult.
Super beneficial.
It's a serious addiction, basically. So, I mean, I see a lot of benefits for staying off the sugar, which I try and do, but I have stints and I'm on and off and blah-de-blah. But, I think it's just like not overeating, I think is the best... Best thing I can say for anyone who's trying to get in shape, just don't overeat.
Yeah. You're in a very good position though. You love your cardio, whereas there's a lot of people out there who don't.
Yeah.
So it's that balance of input and output. The lad who I know, Tim, who I work with, he'll do 17 miles a day. That's his thing. He's into his marathons and all this, that and the other. And he just sends me pictures while I'm eating my sweet potato, broccoli and beef mince. He's there tucking into a pizza every night, or he'll have a couple of beers, but he's built. He's like a racing snake. But he can because he's doing them 17 miles a day.
As you get fitter and you're nailing those big miles, your body becomes more efficient, and you need less calories.
Right.
So what we were finding is when we were cycling across America, we were going to meet the lads in Ibiza, so we were like trying to get in shape. You know what I mean? We were doing like
cycling through America with a Ibiza at the end of it. Want the 6-pack?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Malnutritioned essentially as well.
Yeah, exactly. So like we were doing like workouts after our riding days, like doing a load of press ups and like sit ups and all that. But like so it was hardcore. But we found that we were eating enough, like what we thought was like enough to keep us going, but we weren't losing weight, even though we were cycling like 100 miles a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we had to like dial our nutrition in a bit to get in shape, because our bodies were just didn't need a lot of food to travel that distance.
I think, and there's been this whole metabolic slowdown debate recently in the circles of gym fuckery, right? And it's been proved again that it's nonsense, right? I think there's something in it. You're obviously telling me that there's something in. You've evidenced it, that your body becomes super more efficient at how it manages calories.
100%.
And I think when I went down from 26 stone down to 19 stone, I was stuck for 2 years, and it was a painful 2 years of my life. And essentially, all that happened is my BMR had adjusted to something absolutely ridiculous because I was training twice a day.
Yeah.
I was running 5K every lunchtime, and I was training for an hour on a night doing kettlebells and bro splits and stuff like that. And your body's just it's so clever that it gets to a point where it starts, right, you need some fat on your body to maintain for, when we don't catch the lion going back to kind of thousands and thousands of years ago or whatever. That's interesting, that is interesting.
Say when we do photo shoot preps and stuff, you don't go out for a jog, it's all you're on the Stairmaster, low intensity, less training, and the fitter you are, the less fat you burn. So you essentially are making yourself as unfit as possible.
Yeah. My best mate's just gone through bulk, and he came out. He's mental, this kid. You met him, didn't you, Sam?
Sam Palmer.
Yeah. So he'd done this whole. He got cancer. He got throat cancer, thyroid cancer. Well, he did the London Marathon, and he blames not getting under 4 hours because of the thyroid cancer, right?
It's a kind of excuse.
And I'm like, yeah, all right, Sam, bro. Anyway, he gets rid of the cancer, and he phoned me up, right, I'm going to become a boxer. All right, mate. So he has 3 or 4 fights, right? Loves that. Right, I'm going to bulk. I'm going bulking now. What do I do? And I'm like, right, you need to eat more food. Right, okay. So he's got this little bit of a belly. It's the first time I've seen him. And he sends me the photo going, look, I'm looking massive. You see that little fucking rubber ring you've got around your belly there, kid? Of course, he's fuming with that. but he's now like fuming because his cardio fitness is that shit. I mean, mine's not great. I ran 5K the other week in 30 minutes, right? It was brutal. But I will walk 3 hours a day on my walk pad at home while I'm working. But going for a run is none. But I do miss that buzz. But it's not for my body composition at the minute. When I get a bit bigger, I'll then start worrying about that.
Yeah, it's mental, and you've got different goals all the time. Like I'm at the minute bulking, and I'm hating my life, like really hating my life. I'm full of water. My 6-pack's more or less gone now, and it's just like, but I need to put some size on. I'm built like a racing snake. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, I can't go out running. I enjoy running. Like my best 5K time, I've done a sub 20 in this Saturday. I used to love running, but it always seems that I'm doing a photo shoot prep, so I can't run. Doing a bulk, so I can't run. So at what point can I run? Like, I just want to run. That's it.
I think it's that whole finding solace with yourself in it and just going, right, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I think you're good at that, and you're like, I know what I'm doing today.
It's about the goals, I think, isn't it? It's about, I sometimes find that like you've got to prioritise what you're doing, because like I was lifting weights, but then I was training for the Bob Graham, and I was like, the two very opposite things, like, which is fine, you know what I mean? You're going to get in great shape by doing them two things, but towards the end of the Bob Graham training, I was like, I need to prioritise my running here. So I had to just leave the weights behind, you know what I mean? So
where do you find advice for how to train on something like that, by the way? Or is it just raw dog? I mean, I read the odd book and stuff like that, and just like, literally just winging it a bit. It's not like a prescriptive thing, is it? It's like people go do a marathon, and everyone's done a marathon, but like, how would you prepare for 22 peaks in 24 hours? How do you do that? Like,
just getting out there, basically.
Right,
just do as big days as you can. Yeah, I went like one of my training days, like ran Rosebery Topping 20 times. So from the car park to the summit, up and down 20 times. And it turned out to be a marathon, which I didn't know. But it was
just did a marathon at Rosebery Topping.
So
class.
So just stuff like that, you know what I mean? Just you got to. Thing is with me, I'm suited to running in terms of like running on a flat, like on a track or on a road or something. That's like perfect for me. You know, in school it was cross country, 800 meters, 1500 meters. But like with the Bob Graham, like the peaks they're like steep. You know what I mean? Some of them have like got steps cut into the hill. Yeah. So you're walking basically, like you're having a power walk, and that doesn't suit me. Like it's harder for me to just
not run,
to be walking slowly like that. It's like, you know, it's like you're in the military, like you got your pack on, you're yomping all these hills. That's what it's like. Whereas when I'm running, I'm sweet as a nut. But when I'm walking up these hills, it's like I'm fatigued and I'm hanging out. You know what I mean? So you've got to train specific for that. Hence, going Rosebery Topping and just going up and down all day.
Must be some cartoons goes around your head, mate.
Yeah, it was funny because there was like a group of people who were like walking up, and I passed them like 4 times on the way up. And they're like,
you've got
what are you doing, you idiot? You know
You
what I
won't
mean?
have any tunes on or anything like that, will you? Because there's no battery.
He's listening to our podcast while he's
There's no products out there that are going to last 22 hours, are there? With
No,
music.
to be fair, you as well, you're in the zone. Do you know what I mean? You're in a certain sort of mental space where you just music wouldn't help you in that moment. You know what I mean? You're
the demons and
that. Yeah. You're just literally going through the motions, and like it's a mental battle. It's like, can I do it? Can I go further? Can I look? And one point I was losing a bit of time because I was absolutely writ off. It was about 5 a.m. I've been going, so it would have been set off at 6, so like 11 hours, and we're like, you're timing it by what time you get to the top of the peaks,
and that's
so roughly on your watch, like, all right, I'm on schedule, and I lost like 20 minutes on the time. I was going for like a 23-hour round, and I was like, oh fuck, this is bad. I was like, if I keep losing 20 minutes here, I'm not going to do it under 24 hours. And if you don't do it under 24 hours, it's not around. You know what I mean? You're out the game.
I'd still be happy with.
Well, you have to go and do it again, basically.
Oh dear.
Well, you don't
You can't put it on your CV.
Yeah,
I know.
you can't put it on your CV.
To be fair, mate, you wouldn't be sat here with us if you hadn't done it.
So then I was like, I was wounded. You know, it was a mental game. I was like, oh my god! But I had the lads like pacing us, carrying my gear and carrying my food and all that, like looking after us. And I was like, I'm fucked here, boys. I can't go any quicker and all this. And then like I staved off the caffeine. I didn't hit any caffeine until halfway around.
Right.
And then I had this caffeine gel, like 50 milligram of caffeine and whatever, energy gel. And it just took us to a new level.
Different.
And
that's probably beneficial that you'd stayed off that, because you'd have got the supercharged version at the end.
100%, because I was already wrecked physically. And I just hit that, and it just, all of my pain just went away straight away. Yeah. And it just like for about 40 minutes, I was just absolutely flying. Got to the like 4 peaks later, and I was up by half an hour, and I was like, wow. Like, that's made a massive difference. So then I was halfway around by then. So then mentally, I was
you're in there again.
Okay, I can actually make, all right, I've lost time early, but I've gained it back.
Yeah.
So, but then what happens is you get that wrecked physically, that your perception of speed is completely gone. So I'm thinking that I'm moving at an insanely slow pace, but actually I'm going.
You're doing all right.
I'm going at a good speed. You know what I mean? I'm right on target. I passed. There was a woman doing it. Fair play to her. It was like she set off an hour before me, but I was passing her, and I was like in my most physically wrecked moment. I was going past her, so I was like, okay, well, I'm not moving as slow as I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a funny game.
That's unreal. What's next, mate?
Ooh. Well, the main goal is to get back running, basically. Because obviously I've had the shin splints and stuff, but I'm cycling, but I'm toying between just doing something daft on the bike. Like, I don't know what that is yet, but...
we know it's not going to be at the end of street and back, don't we?
Yeah. But, I want to do some more ultra marathons, like the Bob Graham and stuff, basically. Right. Yeah, well, like I said to you, my brother's doing the Marathon des Sables.
That's an unreal, mate.
So
this, go on.
Yeah, unfortunately, I should be doing that in like less than 4 weeks' time, but...
So it's a marathon through the Sahara Desert.
Yeah, well, it's 150 miles. It is through the Sahara.
Is that what that Spencer did from? And I don't watch Made in Chelsea.
I was a different. That was he was in. He was over like Jordan way, I think. Was he? But this is in Morocco. It's like one of the most savage foot races.
Certain gear as well, aren't you?
You have to carry every single thing you need so you have to carry all of your food, all of your cooking equipment, and all of your camping gear for 6 days, basically. So it's 150 miles over 6 days, and it's like just basically through the Sahara.
I need to change up my mentality, mate.
We're
that
bitches.
Needs to be normal for me.
We are bitches. We are bitches.
I'm like buzzing if I've done a 5k. Now I need to switch it up. That's why I was genuinely looking forward to having this conversation.
So you're going to go and revisit that?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a niggle there now because I was hoping to do it with our brother. He's only just started running last July, and he's absolutely flying. And he's always sort of wanted to do the Marathon des Sables, but he's like not been training. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
just
yeah.
been like
Winging
cracking on and like just not working out basically.
Right.
And he's just found a love for running. So he's like, I'm doing the des Sables now. You know what I mean? I was like.
Probably should have picked something a little bit.
Yeah, he's gone in a bit hard. Like, it's going to be a baptism of fire.
It definitely runs in the family, that mentality. Doesn't it?
Yeah.
But my pal did it, Ian Flannery, who I've put him in touch.
yeah.
I don't know whether they're talking yet or not. But Ian did it, and he told me the story of one day he took his sock off, and all the skin had come off the base of his foot. Because the sand's getting in between the sock, your sock and your skin, and it just literally eroded all the skin off. Yeah. And he just wrapped himself up with iodine strips and put new pair of socks on the way. Oh mate, do you know what? When I was doing when I ran 100 mile for charity through this January, and he used to come out and run with me just to keep me company, and I appreciate it. I mean, I'm not a big fan of training with anybody. I'm all right on my own kind of thing. I like when the demons kicking and stuff. And we were doing this run, and he said, I can only run it, I think it was 8.5 kilometres or whatever. And I'm like, well, that's my happy space to get my miles in kind of thing. And we finished that. I said, why? He went, I said, I've got a massive hole in my heart. And I went,
oh, right.
All right. I went, probably should have told me that before I went out. He went, oh, no. He says, it's fine. He says, I only found out about it when I left the Paras. And apparently he'd done an exit medical type thing, and they'd found this, done a heart
murmur or something.
Yeah, he's got this huge hole in his lung, so he can't run. That's why he can't run past, I don't know, it's like a 9-minute mile or an 8-minute mile or whatever.
Well, you can cane the endurance.
But
stuff.
you can keep on going forever. He's a bit of a legend, that kid.
Yeah, it explains it being a parrot, to be fair to him.
Yeah, batshit crazy.
Yeah. I'm very conscious.
Yeah.
That right there says that time.
Yeah.
And
right.
I'm absolutely shit myself when it comes to storage after my last debacle.
I've been so looking forward to this conversation, mate. And do you know what? I don't feel
we haven't even scratched the surface.
Scratch the surface, mate. Are you gonna put this down on paper? Any of this? Do you think?
I wrote a journal when I was cycling.
Right.
I had a journal which I haven't pulled out in a few years, actually. So
I think it'd be interesting for you to revisit that, and I think it'd be interesting for you to shot it on Amazon.
It would be, yeah, because you see, there's even, I think on Netflix, there was like a guy cycling around the world, like a German guy or something. And it's like, it's interesting the traction that it got, because Instagram was only just blowing up when we set off. So we didn't like have a big following or anything, you know what I mean? We're on Twitter and Bradley Wiggins and all that. But then like we watched his like Netflix documentary, and we were like, wow, like if that can make it on the Netflix, that was completely tame compared to what happened to us and the things we went through and just what we did and all that. It was like,
and I know you're not that type of guy, I don't think, to put yourself out there, right? But I think people need to hear this story, because it's I'm sat here thinking that my efforts are pathetic, if I'm honest with you.
I've sat here and been inspired today, 100%.
And
100%.
that's the purpose of what we're trying to get out there, is these stories, and with the mental health angle, to make sure people are looking after their heads. But we can't ever kind of steer away from the fact that doing stuff like this sorts your mental health out, right?
A positive relationship.
That's it, yeah. So, mate, I've been blown away today.
Thank you very much for your time, by the way.
Absolute pleasure, boys. Absolute pleasure.
Genuinely, this has been
Unreal.
a scream, and I'm now going to have to reevaluate my whole entire life.
I'm going to go and run to London now. It's in my dreams.
I'm going to put some fresh pants on.
Mate, thank you very much. You're an absolute fucking gent and a legend. And full respect to your missus as well for putting up with it. And
fair play to her.
Dad life, mate, go and smash it, because that's not...
Yeah, that's the biggest challenge of them all, that, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
It's not far off.
I think I said to you, because, it's a bit of a nightmare at the minute. I just messaged back saying, this is the easy bit, kid. Wait till they hit the teenagers. But yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in as well. So, big love.
Thank you, Paul.